It's the second day in the working week. It's Tuesday. Welcome to Breakfast Central on News Central. And we are indeed proud to be here. Most importantly, we're here to serve you by bringing you the latest stories, not just in Lagos this time, but of course in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory, where it was day one of the Nigerian Economic Summit. And it was fantastic. But don't take my words for it. I'll be here to ensure that I bring to you some of the latest stories. But I've got the team right there outside of Lagos, particularly in the Federal Capital Territory. I'm talking about the delectable Olive Emodi, and of course, the one and only, the man himself, Benga Aburowa. Good morning, guys. It's over to you. How you guys doing, by the way?
Hey, Joe.
Good morning, Joe.
What a fantastic introduction. Yeah, I feel very special this morning.
It's great to have you here, Joe. We've actually missed having you. You know, it's been a conversation that would have loved to have you on this side, but you've been holding the fort down in Lagos. So thank you for that and well done. Here has been quite intense. The past 24 hours, we've been hearing presentations and conversations about the key theme for Next 31, which is building a Nigeria that is prosperous and inclusive by 2030, with a focus on the reform initiative. And all the conversations we've seen have been geared towards that. Today, we're starting off with breakout sessions. There's going to be a CEO session, breakout session, and right after the CEO breakout session, then we will get into the main conversations today. And we're excited about that. You know, looking at what exactly a productivity agenda, the CEO breakfast session, for example, we focused on the productivity agenda, what that looks like, where we are, what we need to get from where we are to where we ought to get to. And there's also been a lot of networking happening behind the scenes. I think that Next 31 is a place to be for anyone and everyone who's particular about building a Nigeria that we're very proud of and one we're proud to call home and live for generations to come. Benga?
I mean, it's been an absolute day one has been very great. I heard the speech of the Vice President talking about Vision 2030 and what the government is doing, its reforms. But the good thing about this is it's a mixture of both private sector and government agencies. So they're having those critical conversations they should have on moving Nigeria forward. And I believe this is not just going to be a talk shop.
No, it's not.
See implementation of some of the, and I'm also looking forward to their communique at the end of the program, what they will submit to government, their recommendations and all of that. So day one has been brilliant.
It's been brilliant.
Day two will be much better.
Yes, and you know what's even exciting is that we had some very exclusive conversations behind the scenes here on Breakfast Central, and we're bringing them to you all through the course of the day on News Central as well as on Breakfast Central, looking at different sectors, the real sector, looking at what productivity means, you know, ability to get data and what some of the hindrances towards getting the data is, especially when it comes to measuring where we are and where we're going to be. So looking forward to having these conversations, and you can keep up to date with us by joining our live stream at News Central TV to find out all that's happening at Next 31, that is the Nigeria Economic Summit. Let's now begin with wake-up conversations. I think we should start with your favorite story, Benga.
It's not my favorite story. It's just it's a very shocking story, and we thought we were being behind. We've gone past this level, and it's something that also brings to scrutiny or to the fore the National Assembly's ability to really scrutinize ministers when they come for their screening. Because what we often get is bow and go, and we don't see any deep scrutiny in it. And what am I talking about? The Minister of Science and Technology, such an important portfolio.
Such an important portfolio.
Yeah, has been in the firing line for quite some time now with regards to his certificate. They said he attended the University of Nigeria,
Nsukka, UNN.
but he did not. Attendance is different from graduating. Yeah, so he didn't get a degree from UNN.
So there has been a certificate or a certificate that was presented, and of course, you know the typical methods when you're trying to be a minister. Once the nomination has been done, once the president has nominated his cabinet, he presents them for the ministerial screening, the process that a number of us follow on TV. We see the ministers ask and grill, the Senate's grilling them and asking them questions. It would seem that one of such ministers, the Minister of Science and Technology, like Benga has said, who submitted a document. It was a forged document. Now, this is Uche Nnaji, of course, and the result we have seen is regarding the UNN degree. There have been reports, Premium Times had done a thorough investigation to it and then had come out to speak about the fact that the degree is fake.
Yeah, but we don't seem to have heard any official statement from the government. He hasn't denied it. And as we speak, he's still a minister of the Federal Republic today. And it's left a lot of tongues wagging that, look, this is obviously fake. And newspaper, being a responsible media organization, has done its homework and presented you with the facts, but still nothing has been done. And this is where you expect opposition to step in, and because it's, I mean, this is fraud.
Right. And now if you go back to some of the details of the story, looking at, at the Premium Times expose, it took Premium Times 2 years for them to investigate and uncover. So kudos to Premium Times for a job well done. There was also an attempt by the said minister to prevent the court, to ask the court to prevent the university, to compel them not to release results, it would seem. It says that the findings of Premium Times' extensive examination of the documents were damning and conclusive. And what are the findings? That both the degree certificate and the NYC discharge certificate in the minister's possessions are outright forgeries.
That's a double
whammy.
Yes.
This is really what they call it.
Double forgery.
Double forgery. But let's get Joe's thoughts on this. We'll come back to share our thoughts as well, and then we'll throw back to Joe to share with us what Nigerians are saying. Joe, what do you think about this grand, awful theft?
Well, we talked about it here yesterday. It was on the front pages of the newspapers, and I did have our front page guest analyst who indeed joined me here yesterday. We analyzed it critically, and whether you like it or not, the update simply is that the said minister, Uche Nnaji, has actually held a press conference yesterday, and he denied these claims. He said it's just a mischievous one. He also blamed it on some political riffraffs who are trying to tarnish his image and spoil his name. But then again, you would wonder, the date at which he graduated and the date at which he wrote his examinations, there seems to be some form of disparity in terms of explanation on whether he actually graduated from the school or actually did not get a certificate from that school. But the Minister of Innovation, Science and Technology, Uche Nnaji, as he's rightly called, dismissed reports questioning the academic qualifications. And like I said, he actually described them as politically motivated, an attempt to tarnish his image. Now, Olive and Benga, the spotlight has been focused on the National Assembly, the process in which every single individual who is to receive an office or who is to be in an office is screened. Sometimes they ask few questions and then they say, take a bow. But yesterday, while we're analyzing this, another major worry is that oftentimes before an individual takes up an office, he would be screened not just by the assembly, but by the security operatives, the DSS, the Nigerian Police Force, and the likes would ensure that there's no criminal allegations against this individual. They do a background check and so on. So the question is, did they do a thorough background check? Did they see this while they were doing the background checks, or did they just fall victim for a certificate that was presented onto them and saying, listen, I'm a graduate? This also calls for a very critical explanation to why the media is very important, being the fourth realm of society, because the media, particularly Premium Times and other media houses, decided to go as far as carry out an investigation. And here we are. But then again, like I said yesterday, he did deny all of these claims and said that they're all lies. But let's see what Nigerians are saying before we come back to you guys. we'd get to see what they're saying very quickly and then find out what each Nigerian feels about this. Now, favored sinner. I don't know who's favored and a sinner. He says, Nigeria is wild. Minister Uche Nnaji admitted in court that UNN never issued him a degree. The university confirmed he didn't complete his studies and has no record of his graduation. NYC also said they couldn't verify the certificate he claimed. Yet, he's still a serving minister. In a serious country, he'll be suspended. Makes you wonder what he submitted during screening that was accepted without adequate checks. But then again, our president's admission letter once listed female, and the certificate he tendered was a version Chicago State University couldn't authenticate, and he said it's not the version they issued that year, yet he's president. Issues upon issues. These are the issues. What are Nigerians saying? The very, very controversial Madi Shehu says, shameless. Rather than swallow the humble pie, he is approaching the kitchen with the filled gas of cylinder. Okay, let's go to another one before I come back to you guys. King Timon says, this can't be real. You see why every embassy in Nigeria always wants to legalize and do documents verification, even when same documents emanated from government institutions? We agree with you. This is the reason. This is part of the reason, not the major reason, by the way. And these are the things that Nigerians are spewing out, especially from their hands. Back to you, Benga and Olive, especially if you've got more to say on this.
Well, thank you very much, Joe, for bringing us what Nigerians are saying. Again, I mean, in response to the questions you asked two questions where the problem is. You asked if the Senate did their thorough investigation, if the Senate and the security agencies did their thorough investigation before reaching that conclusion. And your answer, I mean, you didn't give a conclusive answer. You also did ask that if they found out, was it a situation of they did thorough investigation, found out and ignored it, or they didn't do thorough investigation? I think I'd like to go with the explanation that they probably didn't do a thorough investigation. I don't want to believe that our Senate will fall so low to the point that they would investigate, find out something so damning and not report it.
I think in Nigeria, the political class, most of the focus is on, okay, the DSS does the screening, the police to see or if he has any criminal records, and that's about it. They don't do a thorough job. And if you look at the history of Nigeria's political history since 1999, those that have been found wanting was because of some sort of investigation and people pointing them out. It's not that the Senate found them. Remember the case of Salisu Buhari in the House of Representatives. It's not as a result of the screening. So what we need to do now going forward is they should give it to a third party to do the screening and verification exercises. Because even now, people, if you're employing a housemaid, if you're employing security guards, they do screening, so let alone something at that national level. This is an embarrassment to the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The Secretary to the Government of the Federation should have issued a statement. They should have said something. And then the radio silence from the government's end is quite embarrassing, because we're talking about the credibility of public officials here, accountability. And what message does it send? And it's also a criminal offense. Forgery is a criminal offense.
If you that the document that caused this issue, there was a particular document before the court, and in paragraph, according to the Premium Times, in paragraphs 12 and 13 of his 34-paragraph verifying affidavit supporting the motion, Mr. Nnaji made a stunning revelation accusing UNN officials of refusing to issue him a certificate, and in the process confirming that he never collected one. In paragraph 12, he stated that the university admitted him in 1981 to study microbiology and biochemistry, and that he completed the program and graduated in 1985. But paragraph 13 contained the explosive admission, which says that even though I am yet to collect my certificate from the third defendant, UNN, due largely to the non-cooperative attitude of the third to the fifth defendant, which is UNN, its vice chancellor and its registrar, the third defendant issued a letter dated 21st December 2023 to People's Gazette, attention Samuel Ogundikwe, which stated, amongst other things, as follows, and it goes on to list a number of things. So if they didn't issue you a certificate, what certificate was presented?
Yes.
So So I think that's a question. The Senate also has some questions to answer. Did you get a certificate, or you just approved him based on
based on power and go.
Take a bow and go. We'll look through that later. Again, it's disrespectful to Nigerians. It's not just a thing of the disrespect. It's also lying on the oath. It's perjury. You can't come and say that you've gotten these documents and then present them and we find out that it's a lie. But let's move on to another story. And now this is something that's making a lot of waves in Edo State. It is something that the Oba of Edo State has said is alien to the culture of the Edo people, which is installation of Iyaloja in Edo State. The Iyaloja General, Folashade Tinubu, who is the daughter of the president, has installed an Iyaloja in Edo State, and something that has been largely rejected by the Oba. She informed the Oba of Benin, Oba Ewari III, that she planned to inaugurate Pastor Josephine Ibazebule as the Iyaloja of all markets in Edo State. The Oba responded by firmly rejecting the proposal, and the title in that context stating that the concept of a centralized Iyaloja is alien to Benin tradition. He emphasized that Benin system is based on individual Iyeki per market, each doing cultural and ritual work for the palace, and that no one market leader or general has authority over all markets. Reaction from market women in Benin was largely supportive of the Oba's stance. Thousands of market women protested the move to install an overarching Iyaloja, saying it would dilute their traditions. Rights and civic groups have also weighed in, praising the Oba's decision as safeguarding tradition and cultural heritage.
I'm in support of the Oba's position, because why should one person, did you give me money to start up funds to set up my market store, and why should you have control over all the markets? I know there's goodness in cooperatives and unions and coming together to share commonalities, but installing an Iyaloja that is not even part of the tradition in Benin. You respect cultures, and they say when you're in Rome, you behave like Rome. And I'm happy His Royal Majesty has jumped into the conversation to say, look, we don't do this here. Please respect our culture, and let's keep the peace and move on. And hopefully, the Iyaloja General of Nigeria, the first daughter, would respect the opinion of the Oba and respect their feelings.
Is that maybe not a little too late?
She will install the Iyaloja. I don't think it's too late. They don't want it.
Well, I think that it's important, again, while we talk about stories like this, to talk about the importance of culture. The Edo people have a very rich cultural heritage, very rich.
And proud.
Rich and proud cultural heritage. And whilst no one is interfering with the fact that Iyaloja is established in Lagos, it's not alien to the Yoruba culture. The Edo people have said it is not their culture, so long as it doesn't in any way interfere with how governance is run. It would seem that the best course of action would be for the Iyaloja to step aside on this one. It's not your culture. It's just like me waking up today and deciding that, because I have authority in a certain place, I want to go and install that authority in, amongst the Yoruba people or the Hausa people.
Outside your jurisdiction.
And we have over 250 languages in Nigeria, indigenous languages in Nigeria, several cultures and traditions. Our strength is in our diversity, and the one way to uphold the unity. I mean, we're already tethering on what's the word? Ethnic lines, right? We see that at play during politics. We don't want to further
very sensitive.
We don't want to further aggravate that. Everyone is deserving of respect, having their culture, their tradition, and their religion respected. But let's go over to Joe and see what Nigerians are saying about this.
Well, you can rightly say that again. It's quite strange. The Oba did make some points very clear. The Oba clearly asked the Iyaloja a few questions. And some of the questions he asked, he said, and I read, he said, I have discussed this matter with my chiefs and those that are knowledgeable. Do you know the role of Iyeki in Benin culture? Every Iyeki has a special relationship with the palace. Are you aware of that? Do you know that every Iyeki has a cultural role to perform inside every market? So the video you've seen online as well, and the one we've shown to you, are women, market women, women from Edo State, who were celebrating the fact that the Oba did stand his ground to say no. But there's a big question everyone is asking. And the question is, where is the governor of Edo State? How come he has not said anything concerning this? Anyway, let's see what Nigerians are saying very quickly, and we'll find out how the reactions are going. Supreme Clerk says Tinubu's daughter, Folashade Ojo, wants to impose an Iyaloja in Edo when the people only recognize Iyeki. Edo is not Lagos. We know the game. 2027 is near, and you are setting up vote-buying channels. We reject your desperation and insults to our tradition. Now, remember that these comments and these tweets are not those of News Central, but of course they belong to those whom we've been able to select randomly from X. Let's see another one. This one is Oraji Jews, okay? He says, I'm so pleased with the emphasis and education the chief gave to them. LOL, laughing out loud. It was like a breaking news to them that the mode of practice they want to enforce can never work. LOL. It's just so beautiful when custodian of tradition get to state it as it is, plain and clear, 100%. Whew. And I think that message sums everything up. And then he goes on to say, to be honest, Oba didn't want to hurt anyone's feeling. This is something that anyone will be pissed about, but you just have to handle it with so much dialogue while you let someone just say it as it is. And that's what the Oba said. Unfortunately, we couldn't get that video to play to you where he was asking them these questions. There's a fundamental issue with Nigerian leadership. And what is most shocking is the passivity of Nigerians who do not respond to oppressive policies that lead to authoritarianism in a democratic society. That's another post right there. Let's take a final one. Curiosity made me ask, it says, what is Iyaloja of General of Nigeria? Why do we need the office? Is it constitutional? Is it legal? Whose interest is the office serving? The people, market sellers, or selfish interest? You see these questions right here. These are questions that every single Nigerian should ask and look for answers to it. For us as journalists and the press, we do have these answers. And if you go online, you'll find some of these comments right there. But definitely, that's all that you would find concerning what Nigerians are indeed saying about that story coming from Benin. But then again, Edo State is one beautiful state. Hopefully, this will not go by or will not pass by without a permanent solution.